So recently we have been watching this series called I May Destroy You on BBC iPlayer. It's by and written by, acted by Michaela Cole.
She is like a dream. We love you, Michaela Cole.
Yeah, she really is. Hopefully one day we'll get her as a guest on our podcast or something. Watching this series basically started a discussion between Reed and myself about sexual assault and rape and things that we've experienced in our past that we didn't even consider to be sexual assault, but it was.
Literally through watching this series, like we were voice noting each other and being like, oh my god, this, that and the other, and I've never once thought myself of as a victim, but watching this series has really like opened both of our eyes to what sexual assault is, what it's considered as, what like the law thinks of it as, and also, you know, what we take of it and take from it and how we can better ourselves, and also ask for help if we need some.
Because I'm sure like you've had some experiences in your life that you will be able to sort of relate to. I think I actually heard a statistic that was 1 in 2 women will be sexually assaulted in their life. You and your mate, like one of you will be sexually assaulted.
Yeah, it's
I
mad.
even think it's probably everyone. I think like almost every woman will be sexually assaulted in her life.
Yeah, I almost feel the same thing, because the fact that there are so many little things now, I don't want to say little things because that diminishes it, but things that we never considered to be sexual assault are now considered to be sexual assault.
Yeah. And just because they weren't considered sexual assault before doesn't mean that they were okay before. It's just that we're slowly learning that some situations weren't okay, and like that bad feeling that we had after sex, like there was a reason for that bad feeling that we had.
Yeah, definitely. It's just frustrating that we weren't taught any of this through sex ed, and as we were growing old, it's taken both Florence and I to like the ripe age of almost 30 to be able to recognise this. And this is something that we've dealt with throughout our whole lives, ever since, even before we started being sexually active. We need to have a real clear understanding of what sexual assault is and who can do it and why it happens, and also how we can deal with it and process it, and if it affects us physically or our mental health.
Yeah, one of the biggest shockers for me was sort of thinking about all the experiences that I've had in my life where I've gone to like have sex, hook up with someone and ask them to use a condom, and they even repeatedly ask them to use a condom, and they kind of manipulate the situation so that we don't end up using a condom, which is unconsensual sex because you didn't consent to sex without a condom.
Yeah, which is considered rape. If you want to use a condom and they don't use a condom and kind of coerce you and trick you even to having sex without the condom, that is rape. That is unacceptable.
Yeah, there's this thing called stealthing, which is actually mentioned on the show I May Destroy You, and it's when people start off using a condom so that the person they're fucking thinks that there's a condom being used, and then they like secretively take off the condom during sex, so they're fucking you without a condom.
And that's fucked up. Why would you do that? That's lying. That's deceit.
Yeah, that's rape. It's considered rape.
It's rape. Like, yeah,
that's unconsensual sex. No one agreed to not use a condom.
So awful. So yeah, there was a couple of times when Florence and I were voice noting through watching this that we were thinking about times that we had sex or things had been non-consensual. And I still don't consider myself a victim, but since watching this, there are some things that have really made me question about the sex that I had. Like, for example, asking for a condom and, you know, not getting a condom, but me thinking, oh, well, I was really horny and I wanted it anyway, so I just let it happen. That's unacceptable, you know. That's something that I really need to put my foot down and be like, no, I wanted to use a condom at the beginning, and I still want to use a condom. It doesn't matter how horny I am, and if I let it happen. If I say use a condom, you should use a fucking condom.
Yeah, I had a weird experience like at the beginning of this year with that, where I repeatedly asked someone to use a condom, and I think in the moment it's almost like you can't stop it happening.
Yeah,
because you're in this like sexual situation, you feel like you've consented to the sexual situation, so you almost go ahead with it anyway. And then I also found that I was just like, oh, this is so fucked up, because I think there was like some part of me that like was getting off on the fact that they were forcing me not to use a condom.
Yes, which is a real grey area between like our fantasies and what we find acceptable. There's nothing wrong with, you know, role play and having like safe play and working out the logistics of circumstances and play like that. But when it's non-consensually, it's a real mindfuck, which is why I think both of us are still stuck and unsure whether or not it was okay or not. And I think so many of us share that feeling where we're like, but we kind of let it happen, but also that's coercing or being tricked into it. I'm also frustrated because thinking about, you know, watching this program has made me think about sexual situations that I've really thought were like great and fun and I really enjoyed, but then now discovering that they were non-consensual in some way or another has kind of left like a really bad taste in my mouth, in like, oh well, like, you know, do I want to know this? Do I want to be a victim, or do I want to be someone who's learnt about this? Do I want to be a survivor and to take this in my sex moving forward, not being afraid to have a voice to be like, no, fucking stop, what are you doing?
I think in general, like, it's obviously a really good thing to realise these things and these situations have happened to us, because even though it is uncomfortable and it does taint the way you think about those sexual situations, like, that's the only way we're gonna learn how to... The thing is that I even feel shit saying that, because we shouldn't have to learn how to not be sexually assaulted. That is fucked up. We don't need to learn about not being sexually assaulted, but the people that are in those sexual situations with us need to learn that what they did was sexual assault.
Especially now as consent has been more mainstream and we've been speaking about it more often. I think there is a lot of fear going around with not just men but women as well on consent and what was, you know, alcohol. Most people have sex on alcohol at least once in their life. We think that it tends to make things easier to have sex when we're going through like teenage self-confidence issues. You're at a party, you know, shit happens, or like, you know, you're out at a nightclub and you have a one night stand, and alcohol is so questionable. That is non-consensual. If you're both blind drunk, then neither of you can consent if you are drunk. There's this whole crazy situation with alcohol because it's also like different body types and different tolerances of alcohol and different coherences, and how can you tell how coherent somebody is or isn't, or even if they say yes, they might be blackout drunk. We've got no idea. It's almost like you need it in writing. You need a video footage of being like, I consent to this sex. What was it I watched recently where it was really cool and modern? I honestly think it was Broad City, and they were literally just about to have a quick one night stand and they were taking their clothes off and like, I consent to having sex with you, and the other person's like, yeah, I consent to having sex with you, and it was so clear. And that's how it should be.
The problem with like sex when you're drunk is that you personally cannot consent if you are blackout drunk.
Blackout drunk, definitely not.
I guess I didn't realise that like earlier this year I actually had a really bad like experience, and like basically I went back to this guy's house after like a dating app sort of meet up. It was like after the first date, so it was like our second date, but I went to his and he ended up just like giving me like really, really strong drinks, and I just got really, really drunk like really quickly, and almost too quickly. Like I couldn't really fully understand like how I had gotten so drunk so quickly, and like I guess there is part of me that questions like whether it was spiked, but I also think it was just probably like really, really strong alcohol.
And on top of that, you're meeting someone new, so of course you're gonna like want to drink together. You're not going to be like, no, sorry, I'm going to mix my own drinks, because even though we should be able to do that, we don't.
This guy was a lot older than me. He was like 42 or something. Obviously should have known better, but I ended up getting so drunk that we ended up having like a bath together and stuff. Whilst I was in that bath, this was like the last moment that I was kind of like slightly coherent. I started seeing double in the bath, and like I was so fucked, and then suddenly I started blacking out, and I like have flashes of the night, flashes of like having sex, but like I honestly to this day have no idea what happened, and I know that 100% I didn't consent to that. I couldn't have consented to that sexual act because I wasn't conscious.
If you're blackout drunk, you can't consent, but also how would the other person know that unless they were intentionally trying to get you into that state? But you know, times where we've gone out with our mates and they've been like, oh my god, I was so wasted last night, I don't remember. It's like, well, did I recognize that? You know, I noticed that they were drunk. Some people play drunk really like that, you can't tell that they're drunk at all, and other people you can really tell if they're drunk. I mean, do we know if he was blackout drunk? Maybe he was the same amount of drunk as you. The whole thing is complicated and confusing that's fucked.
I know that he remembers what happened.
Oh, really? Then that's pretty fucked. But he's also a 40-year-old man and he deals with alcohol completely differently.
True. And like, I think as a person, I don't necessarily look drunk when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
But that's not like, I don't know, it's not really an excuse, and like, it's kind of fucked up, but that was rape.
Yeah, that was
rape.
non-consent. That was sexual assault.
I mean, I didn't consent to that sexual act. It was rape. I didn't realise at the time, and like when I finished that situation, I was like, oh, like voice noting my mates, like, oh, this just happened, lol, it was so funny, blah, blah, blah. And then it wasn't until I got home, I got a UTI, and I started feeling like hungover, that I was just like, something feels off.
Yeah.
And I also, like, when I spoke to my friends about it, they were like, that doesn't sound like okay. Like, that whole situation doesn't sound right.
I think I was one of the other people that were like, oh my god, that's so funny, ha, wow, no way. Because blackout drunk is just so, like, in our culture, it's that you're torn between trying to make a situation either serious or laughing it off, and it depends on the way that you want it to go, you know, like, because I don't know how I feel about the times that I think of now, and like, I'm like, I almost rather would have not realised that they were rape. I would rather have just been like, okay, that was a weird time, or like, that was one of those occasions, because now I feel like awful and like I'm a victim.
Yeah. But I guess like by trying to ignore the fact that it is just sort of...
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Something fell down by my window and it scared me so much. It looked like a bird like died and just like fell, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Haven't jumped like that in a long time. Sorry, continue. I'm so sorry. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, this video needs a bit of humour anyway. But yeah, I think like by not accepting that these things happened, it is normalising sexual assault as something that just happens.
Yeah.
And, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I
shouldn't do that.
Like, it happened, but I'm not a victim kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, because there's nothing wrong with being a victim, and there's nothing wrong with being a survivor. It makes you proud to own that this has happened to you, and to work your way through it, and to help process it. And if it means talking to a friend, and one friend like laughs about it, and another friend says, no, that's not okay, let's go and, you know, report it, or let's talk about it, or learn about it, then that might be what you needed at the time. I mean, if everyone had told you, Florence, you had been raped, you'd feel fucking awful.
And I also think, like, just because I've now like learned and realised that was rape, it doesn't make me think, oh, I need to go and report this person. Like, I don't feel like it was that situation that I would go to the police.
Yeah, like an intentional situation.
Yeah, but like perhaps it's a situation where I should talk to him about it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it is important that we do talk to the people that we have felt uncomfortable with during sex, and just to let them know. That
I guess I'm really scared. Yeah, I'm scared about talking to people about it, because the last time I've spoken about like worst experience on the podcast and stuff, and like I said to the guy, like, afterwards, I was like, I feel like you raped me, and he was just like, no, I did not rape you, you consented, blah blah blah. And like that response has made me feel like I don't want to tell someone that again.
Yeah, it's so horrible and hard. Like, imagine if it was on the flip reverse, and some guy had messaged you from a drunken night out and said, Florence, you raped me, or like vice versa. Like, you know, people don't like to be told that they're wrong, let alone be told that they've sexually assaulted someone. So it's unacceptable that he reacted in that way, but it's understandable, because the first thing that you instantly go to, especially if you're insecure about it, you go on the defense, and like you just try and state it, rather than what he should have done was like, I had no idea, I'm so sorry, let's talk about this, what can I do to like better myself.
Exactly. That is the response that you need.
Yeah, not like, you're wrong, no, that's fucked up. That means he was like clearly going through some shit.
Yeah, I have a couple of text conversations that I need to have.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think I'm going to reach out to that guy again, because that was a long time ago, but like the more recent things that happened within this like last year, like I'm gonna reach out to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's extremely brave, and I think you have to do it when you're in like a good mental space to do it, you know, not fresh afterwards, not if you're having a rough time and you feel really angry or upset about it, it needs to come from a place of like ready to take whatever they have to say. And if it is serious sexual assault, if you think they've done that intentionally, then go to the police, or go and speak to a sexual charity or a hotline. There are so many. We're gonna leave a list in the description below and also read them out at the end for you guys to check them out, because a lot of people are very scared to go to the police because it's like they see it's quite a serious thing. What you can do is you can speak to one of these charities or hotlines where you can just get anonymous advice about the situation, and even ask them, do you think this is sexual assault? Do you think I need to go to the police about it? And then they will advise you, and it won't go anywhere else, or they will help you, or they'll tell you about the process. And that can just speaking to someone who knows their shit about this, who has spoken to so many people about their assault, so many victims, then it will just give you a little bit of peace and hopefully some kind of closure on the situation. I mean, I've got complicated situations about like being with boyfriends and partners, and situations where I didn't want to have sex, but you know, like there's that whole boyfriend girlfriend obligation, like the partner obligation of having sex, and that is considered non-consensual sex. I mean, there were plenty times with my previous partners that I've not wanted to have sex but done it anyway because like I was horny, or because we were boyfriend and girlfriend and I thought that's what we had to do, or you know, that was like the routine of the evening. We get high, we eat, we fuck, we watch, you know. And sometimes I just felt like it's not even like I didn't have the voice and I was sitting there thinking I don't want this. It was like I didn't even know it was an option to say no, or to say that it wasn't okay. I'm sure that my exes have no idea that I felt this way because I never verbalized it, and we never were taught about it, especially when it's like painful as well, and you're just like, no, like,
I actually can't believe that we weren't taught about this at school.
Yeah, what the
how
fuck?
Actually fucked up is that? How fucked up is it? It's taken until we're nearly 30 to have this conversation and be like, wow, like we should have known about this.
I really hope that schools now, parents now are teaching consent. Please let us know. Like, if your school is doing the right fucking thing, let us know. Tell us where your country is, and we'll be like, fuck yeah, they're doing. Because we know that over in the Scandinavian countries, the Netherlands, they teach their toddlers, like as soon as they start speaking, it's age appropriate sex education. So they talk about consent when they're like 3 or 4 years old. Things from like, you know, if you don't want to be hugged by someone, you can say no, I don't want to hug, and that sets you up for life to be able to be comfortable enough to say, hey, no, I'm cool. And also if you go and do something to someone, they're like, hey, I'm not cool with that. Like the amount of times that I've heard my friends saying like, oh, I'm not a hugger, I don't want to hug, and then I've been like, oh, stop it, let's hug. And now looking back at it, I'm like, that's not okay to do. You know, forcing a hug on someone, that is not okay with you being in their personal space. Why were we not taught this shit, man? It's so fucked.
It is so fucked. And I'm like, I'm so grateful for this series. So like, everyone, please, of all genders, go and check out I Made a Story by Michaela Cole. It is a game changer. It's not a super serious, obviously it tackles really serious topics, but it's like done in a way that's really like kind of like British humor, kind of quirky.
It's really cool and really nicely done.
Really cool. Definitely check it out.
Do be aware that there are some triggering situations in it, so if you are watching it and you feel uncomfortable with anything, then stop and take a breather and take a moment out and come back to it, or if you want to, when you're feeling up to it. And it goes the same with reporting any sexual assault crimes, talking to anyone about it. Just make sure that you're in the right headspace to be able to do that, because it can be a really hard thing to go through again, to bring up all these thoughts and feelings again.
You need to be in a good place.
And it doesn't mean to say that you are a victim or a survivor. You are yourself. You're not defined over your past sexual experiences. It's only what you do from now on. Like, don't feel ashamed for not having a voice. We were never taught. We had no idea. We were too scared or too shy in the moment, and we didn't feel it was right. But I hope from now on, we are all able to say, I'm uncomfortable with this situation. Is it okay if we do something else? So here are some facts from the SELF website, SELF.com. Generally, sexual assault falls into one of 3 categories.
1, penetration crimes.
Of a body part by another body part, i.e. penile penetration of mouth, anus, vagina. This also includes of a body part by an object.
2, contact with genitalia, breast, buttocks, or any other intimate part.
And number 3, exposure of genitalia, breast, buttocks, or any intimate bodily part. which should also include online unsolicited photos.
I do think that if you ever come away from a sexual situation and feel like in your gut that something weird happened, or you had a sexual experience, you got home and you really wanted to like have a shower and like wash the experience away, like get the smell off you, like you felt uncomfortable afterwards, like that's when you need to start questioning like what happened.
Yeah.
Like why do you feel that negative way after having that sexual experience?
And it might be really beneficial to write everything down while it's fresh in your mind, or even just now if you're thinking about a situation that you were uncomfortable with, write it all down. So then it's like almost you're taking it out of your mind and putting it on a bit of paper, which is a really good therapeutic technique to do anyway. But then if it comes up where you need to make a report or you need to talk about it, then you can refer back to that information.
And obviously talking to a therapist is probably the best thing that you can do. It will really help you process the situation and decide what you want to do next.
You can also talk to your doctor, your nurse, anyone from the NHS, and also there are so many great online help resources of charities and organisations and free helplines where you can just call up and get advice. We will be leaving a huge list in the description box below with links, so if you want to check any of those out, please do.
The worst thing to do is just to sort of sit there and feel shit about the situation and not talk about it. It can be so hard to talk about it, and I don't blame anyone for not wanting to talk about things, but it is a conversation that we need to start having. Tell a close friend if you don't feel like you can tell like a professional, like a therapist or the police. Like at least talk to someone, open up to someone so that you can sort of process what happened.
And deal with it in your own time. Like some people are quite scared of if they talk to someone, they're going to be forced to go and do something about it. Because people will care and people will want to see justice. I always imagine if I was ever to tell my mum something, then she would go and sort it out, which is not the right thing to do. It is okay for you to say, I will deal with this, but in my own time, like I just need time.
And if someone tells you about a sexual assault, just listen, be there for them, be their support, like just be open to how they want to deal with the situation.
And do research together, call the line up together. If they want to, but just bless you. I feel like I'm so used to you sneezing that like, I don't even notice it. We hope this video has been useful, and we hope that it hasn't been too triggering or too hard to listen to. You are not a victim, we are survivors, and we can hopefully move towards a better future and teach people, not just that awful saying that I hate so much where it's like, oh, you need to teach women not to be too sexy. Well, you need to teach men not to be sexually rapey. And it's like, that's fucked up. We need to teach everyone, all genders, all ages, about consent as a whole. It's not just for one person to listen to.
Let's just open up the conversation. This is the starting point. Let's not stop the conversation. Like sexual assault can't, like, it's not acceptable.
It is unacceptable. We are sending you so much love, and thanks for watching if you got all the way to the end, which is crazy. But we will be bringing out another video in a couple of days. Please comment anything you like below, whether or not you've had an experience, whether or not we've said anything that's been offensive or wrong. Please let us know whether or not you're being taught consent right in your country or wrong in your country, or not at all.
And if you need something lighter to watch after this, we have a lot of very stupid YouTube videos. Our podcast will definitely make you laugh, and maybe check out the ASMR video for some relaxation.
Oh my god, like we laugh every time we watch that stupid video. So stupid but so funny. Lots of love, and see you next week. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.